This episode is brought to you by Pine Melon, the farmer's market delivered. Pine Melon is a next-generation grocery delivery app that partners with over 200 farmers, ranchers, and producers in Colorado to help make fresh, locally sourced foods available to the Denver community at fair prices. Get high-quality meats, eggs, and dairy from small local farms, fresh baked breads from local bakeries, and more, as well as all of your favorite pantry staples. Best part is, Pine Melon offers same-day delivery to Denver and soon Boulder within a 2-hour window, no subscription necessary. Save time in your busy schedule and get fresh and healthy groceries delivered right to your door. Join the movement and support local today. Use promo code CityCastDenver for $75 off your first delivery at pinemelon.com. That's pinemelon.com.
Today on CityCast Denver, are Denver's standards for police officers too low? That was the big allegation this week from a civilian oversight leader, but then hours later, she was fired. So we're piecing it all together with a reporter who was on the scene. Plus, should we just be replacing cops with robots anyway? And our wins and fails of the week. Today is Friday, May 31st. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city that just needs to learn to love our new Miller Moth overlords.
New? Paul.
New? What did I say? Yeah, new. This year, they're new. I mean, these are different moths than last year.
Oh, okay.
The ones we defeated.
I thought you meant like this is a new thing that we're dealing with when it is definitely not.
Yeah, no, every year. It is bad, though, this year. I haven't actually talked to like an expert or anything if it's bad, but I mean, they're back.
Do you have them in your house?
Yeah, I was watching the Western Conference final last night on my iPad, and I looked up and there was just like dozens on the window. Dozens.
Oh, see, we don't get them in my neighborhood, but growing up, we had them like crazy. And I wonder if part of it is you're like right by the creek. You're like literally a block from the creek. Yeah. And we had way more bugs and stuff than I do at my current home, which is closer to a highway known as Alameda. So I don't think we get as many bugs.
Not highway fans.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's Friday. We're here at the 5280 Magazine Studios. Bree Davies is here. Hey, Bree.
Good morning.
And we have a great guest back on the show today. She reports on city council and transportation for Denverite. Welcome back, Rebecca Tauber.
Thanks for having me.
Rebecca, you were part of our bagel battle a few weeks ago, which I was sad to miss. Have you had the chance to revisit any of those spots? Do you have any updates for us?
I'm just always going back to Moe's.
Yeah.
I'm trying to spread the Moe's gospel.
I went
personally.
to Moe's the next week after we recorded that show because I wanted a salted bagel so bad. And it was perfect. I think we were right on.
Moe's is great.
Moe's is consistent. Moe's knows what it's doing.
Yeah, also my pick for what it's worth. Again, not a part of that. Was not invited to join, but
no, you
that
were.
was my pick.
You were, Paul. You made a decision. It's fine.
All right. Let's move on. We have a little bit of business here. Hey, did you know we have a membership program?
Yeah.
It's the best way to support CityCast Denver and make sure we can keep bringing you stories that matter and connect you to our city every single weekday. So if you're enjoying our new spinoff, Lauren Boebert Can't Lose, or you look forward to waking up with Bree every morning, sign up now. Become a member today at membership.citycast.fm.
Yeah, thanks. Please. We love it when you do that.
Yeah, we have a Slack channel where there's a notification that we get every time someone joins.
Signs up.
It makes me happy every time.
It does. It gives you a little boost.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So please support us and keep this show going strong for years to come. Let's get into our top story. This was such an interesting one that really, it first exploded Tuesday morning, and then by Tuesday night, it was a whole different situation. But basically, the question at the core of this is Denver lowering its standards for new police officers too much? That was the allegation at a dramatic press conference Tuesday morning from Niecy Murray, who is the executive director of the civilian body that oversees screenings for police and firefighter and EMS applicants. And then a twist, 12 hours later, she was let go from her job. Coincidence? Perhaps. We'll talk about it. Rebecca, you covered this for Denverite. Let's start with that press conference. What was the scene? What was the message?
Yeah, so Niecy Murray was with council members Chantel Lewis, Sarah Parody, and Serena Gonzalez Gutierrez. What she had to say is basically that in a push to ramp up police hiring, The commission is being pressured to ignore red flags in hiring, lower standards. So a couple examples, Niecy Murray didn't take too many questions, but the council members were talking to her and fielding questions. And so an example that Councilmember Parody said was, she said she personally saw a redacted evaluation doc for an applicant, for somebody who the document said that person shouldn't move forward, but Councilmember Parody said that person did ultimately move forward. So that was kind of what they were getting into at the press conference.
Do we know the specific of that doc, like why that person was recommended to not move forward?
Don't know any specifics on that right now. Working on getting a hold of some of those documents, but yeah, I don't have that answer yet.
I'm so curious to hear what the substance is here.
Yeah, I think as this information becomes more and more clear, I don't know, it's only gonna get more interesting for sure. I don't know. It's this. I was just thinking about the news cycle of it all, right? It's like, this is when the internet is awesome in the sense that we can update in real time versus like this happened within 12 hours or something. So it's just, I don't know, something interesting to watch.
Bree, you and I have talked to the mayor several times. Rebecca just mentioned he's trying to bring the police force up to what they call the full force, which I think is 1,600 officers. They've been struggling for years. Give us the political context.
I mean, I'm thinking about the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago with Lisa Calderon, who also ran for mayor, and her criticism of the idea that the approach seems to continue to be just beefing up policing versus beefing up things within the community that might combat things like violence and crime and things like that. And I have to say, I don't remember it really being a huge cornerstone of the mayor's of the race. It was really just about, I mean, where crime intersects with this for sure, but the issue of the homelessness crisis has just been the main thing. And he said, yeah, he wanted to add more folks to the force, but it's the same thing that I feel like many cities have been struggling with over the last couple of years, which is hiring. People don't want to do this job, and I think there's a lot of reasons why.
Rebecca, what can you tell us about that? Why that's been such a challenge?
Yeah, so basically what the city told me in response to this news breaking is they've been unable to fill nearly every recruiting class for years now. They say about 50% of people drop out of the process because it's so complicated, it's so long. And so what they say is, we're upholding the highest standards for hiring, but they're still getting these results. And so they're trying to modernize the process, is what like the Department of Public Safety is saying. I also think that there's kind of a broader context for these claims when it comes to like struggling with police recruiting, and why I think these concerns are so worrisome is police officers and paramedics have spent months on trial for the death of Elijah McClain. In the past 2 years, Denver has paid out millions and millions of dollars in settlements and also jury trials for police misconduct dating back to the George Floyd protests. You have this nationwide reckoning over policing after the death of George Floyd. And so I think that that's why folks are concerned about these allegations to begin with, and also why I think recruiting is such a challenge.
And it goes back even further, I think, than the George Floyd era sort of this issue, which is that Denver has had one of the most expensive police forces in the country. Farther back than that, I'm thinking about like the Marvin Booker situation, Paul Childs, there's Ryan Ronquillo, all these situations where people have been killed by police. And that has just not been a good thing for Denver. We were up against cities like Philadelphia, which are much bigger, but we're still spending more in payouts. And I was kind of curious, though, about this issue about recruiting and keeping people in the program. So if people are dropping out because the process is so cumbersome, what that says to me is the end result, the pay, is not enough. Because you'll go through that if the pay is enough to entice you to stay. And so I looked according to the City of Denver's website, a police officer recruit will earn $68,000 a year roughly upon graduation. That's not a lot of money in Denver. It's just not. And maybe that's part of the issue, is folks don't see it as a job prospect because it's a lot of work. It's a very stressful job. Socially and societally, there's a lot of opinions about what you do and how you do it, and it might just not be worth it.
Interesting point. Rebecca, let's talk about what happened 12 hours after this press conference. So this was when we got the update that Niecy Murray had been separated from her position.
Yeah, and what the commission told me is that they'd been in talks for weeks about Murray's position, and they were pretty much saying that her speaking out was in response to that, and that, she maybe knew that this was going to happen and was getting ahead of it with these claims. They also said that one thing that Murray said in the press conference is that the threshold for different test scores to enter the academy has been increasingly lowered for years. And what the commission said was that threshold being lowered was recommended by external consultants that they hired. So they were definitely pushing back, the fellow commission members were pushing back against some of these claims.
Let's get back to the politics here. So Murray's allegation is that she's gotten pressure from the mayor to lower standards, that her commission has gotten pressure. And so this is kind of putting the mayor in conflict with these three council members, Gonzalez, Gutierrez, Parody, and Lewis, who were flanking Murray at this press conference. Bree, what do you make of the politics of this?
I mean, we've got three women standing up behind another woman, and that says to me a lot about something that I think that they're either tuned into or they know or they're paying more attention to, or they're just, I don't want to say believing, but kind of that they see this as a real problem and they believe that this is what's going on. I thought what was interesting was there was a quote from Parody in your piece, Rebecca, where she said, I heard from one agency employee other than Director Murray that they've never experienced this degree of political interference with their work. I think there's no question that the dynamic has changed for those employees. So that's an interesting observation to me. Is the mayor's office really putting a lot more attention and pressure on this than maybe previously?
Rebecca, did you hear anything from the mayor's office?
Yeah, so that piece is what stood out to me as well, not having seen this level of politicking. What I heard from the city is that Mayor Johnston has not met with the commission.
Not met with the commission? Or how would he have been putting pressure on this commission?
Well, I think basically that's what they're saying is he hasn't been putting pressure. This is an independent commission. He has not had meetings with the commission. That is the most that I know. We could all imagine ways that one could exert political pressure that doesn't look like specifically meeting with the commission. They didn't speak to other staffers from Johnston's office, but I don't know any, that's just kind of speculating, why they might say politicking if an official meeting hasn't taken place. But all I know is they said Johnston has not met with the commission.
All right. So one thing about this commission, we're talking about this commission. I had never heard of this commission before this week. I don't even know if I have the name. I got to look up the name. It's called the Civil Service Commission.
Yeah.
And apparently was founded in 1904, according to your piece, Rebecca. What is this body? What do they do? Where does it come from?
Yeah, so it's an independent commission. There are 5 members. Some of them are appointed by the mayor. I believe Murray was appointed by former Mayor Hancock. And yeah, it's an independent civilian commission that oversees hiring for things like police and fire. It's meant to be independent. I think going back to what we were saying about the local and national conversation about policing in the past few years, I think there's been this increasing desire for transparency and increasing desire for civilian oversight into policing. And so I think the commission's work kind of fits into that.
Now, there's another person who I would have expected to be a big part of this, at least the last person who filled this position. But we have an independent monitor in this city who's supposed to oversee our law enforcement agencies. I haven't heard her name mentioned once in any of this. Elizabeth Perez Castle. Is she connected to this at all? Have you heard anything from her?
Same as you. I haven't heard much from her. I think that's a good question as to how the monitor's position fits into that. I'm honestly not sure, but I think what I can say is, especially after Murray was let go from her position, council members are calling for an investigation both into her firing and into this whole thing to begin with, the commission, this claim of political pressure, things like that. So it's possible. I don't know if that would be the independent monitor would play a role in that, but I'm not sure. I'm just kind of speculating at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like she would be a good person to look into this if we're talking about political interference in this civilian body, maybe a third party.
This is where things
connected.
Get confusing to me, though, is who is in charge, who oversees the overseer, who oversees, you know what I mean? It's what is the chain of command here? Is there someone that maybe knows something that we're just not, that hasn't come forward yet in this conversation?
That is interesting. That's a good point, though, because it's police, and the civilian oversight is so important for all the reasons that I think people are probably thinking of. But that also creates these interesting pressure points, and like who has leverage, who reports to who, where does the power actually lie in this hierarchy, in the power structure?
I'm also thinking about Niecy Murray's role here, just like not only in the hiring of police, but this conversation we had been having starting about 4 years ago about reform. So there's all these different factors at play, which I assume was a lot on her plate to figure out how to balance. And then potentially you're maybe asking her to push folks forward who are not qualified. I'm trying to think of another industry or field of work that has this many complex problems. It's also one of the biggest portions of our city budget. Money goes into this. So what is going on here?
Rebecca, that's where I want to end this, is like, I want to hear how readers have reacted. Because I know people have a diverse range of opinions about the police, but this particular story, like, it's about something more specific. How have people responded?
Yeah, I mean, I think just from an initial sense, people tend to be skeptical of the police, critical of the police, especially the past couple of years. I personally have been covering these settlements for almost 2 years now. So I think if you're seeing news about another settlement, and then you see something like this, I imagine it's worrisome. I think it's also important to recognize, at this point, these are allegations, these are claims. We have like a lot of competing like narratives or like claims for what's actually going on here. So I think if I were looking at this, I'd want a lot more information. Kind of funny to say from my position, because I'm the person who's trying to find that more information. But I guess what I can say is I think it's definitely something myself and other reporters in the city are like eager to keep reporting on.
Well, we wish you a lot of luck, and we'll be watching as that investigation gets underway and starts playing out, and looking forward to seeing some results there. And then we got to take a quick break, but I literally realized this 30 minutes ago. We're about to do some solutions journalism, because we've been talking about the deficit of police officers, and our next topic is all about answers. Right after this break.
This episode is brought to you by Denver Health. Because Denver Health's nationally accredited bariatric surgery center is accepting patients now. At Denver Health, you can expect personalized attention through your entire bariatric surgery journey with one-on-one support both before and after your procedure. Nutrition, psychology, and routine checkups are all included in your journey, and all of your appointments are conveniently located at Denver Health's main campus. Denver Health offers bariatric support to those struggling with losing weight from ages 16 to 65. Call Denver Health at 720-928-2127 if you would like to make an appointment, or visit denverhealth.org. That's denverhealth.org.
All right, and we're back. Our hot topic this week. What if we just hired robots to do law enforcement? What if we did that?
It's a terrifying prospect, Paul.
We're doing it all over the place, apparently. I mean, the story that we're going to start with is this one out of Morrison that just blew my mind. They installed some new speed cameras, and this is just down the road from Red Rocks. And apparently these speed cameras have clocked 9,000 speeding drivers in just 2 weeks, which, according to Colorado Community Media, is 1.36 speeding tickets per minute.
I mean, okay, so what are we looking at? People are not good at driving. This is not about like, oh my gosh, this is costing people so much money. It's a choice people are making every day to drive like that. And they're just getting caught doing it.
Rebecca, is that what it is to you? You're on the transportation beat as well, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think that speeding is a big issue. I think the local and national context here is that traffic deaths have been rising in Denver, in Colorado, and also nationwide. I'm not like, I report on this, but I'm not like a scholar looking at the data. But, I think a lot of that conversation is around speeding. With these speed cameras, we're also not talking about, going 1 mile per hour above the speed limit. We're talking, it'll issue you a ticket if you're going at least 10 miles per hour above the speed limit. So there's like a little bit of leeway, you're driving it's probably not great to be like looking like at your dash every single second to make sure you're exactly on the speed limit, but we're talking 10 miles per hour or more above.
And that's a big, and that doesn't sound like a big number, but really the difference between 30 miles an hour and 40 miles an hour is huge, especially when we're talking about the safety of pedestrians. So that's an interesting fact, though, because you can get pulled over for speeding and get a ticket for like 1 to 5 miles an hour over. So this is, you have to be going at least 10 over. That's a lot.
You get a $40 ticket automatically, according to Colorado Community Media, if you're going 10 miles per hour or more over the speed limit. And so I did a little bit of the math here. That's 9,000 tickets at $40 a pop. This has raked in $360,000 in 2 weeks for the Morrison Police Department.
I am just hearing a cash cow for how we can fund safer pedestrian infrastructure and maybe public transit.
I mean, maybe right here in Denver, maybe we don't need
for a funding stream. It sounds like we have one.
And here's this other quote. I love this. This is from Morrison Police Chief Bill Vanelli. He said he averages, when he does a traffic stop, 15 to 18 minutes. That's his time. And so
it takes him to
write the ticket, to talk to the person. And so now they just bought these 2 cameras, which cost $30,000 each, and they're generating all this money for it. Just a fascinating. But Morrison, I don't know if people know Morrison. I don't know if I have a mental image of this exact street, Bree.
Morrison this particular strip is a lot of what happened to mountain towns in Colorado, which is they were kind of built for, it's a main street. So it would be more for pedestrians, slower traffic. Streets widened, highways widened. We start putting highways through these communities, and it's like driving through a main strip of a neighborhood, but going 50 miles an hour. It's like Estes Park has a very similar one. It's one of the complaints I have is this is a beautiful little strip of shops that's so fun to walk along, but people can still speed through it. And so, I mean, it's like imagining like Pearl Street in Wash Park, but everybody's going 50. That's how it kind of is a picture to me. It's like those commercial nodes within neighborhoods, like, the notorious, like where the streetcar used to run, where you'll have a neighborhood, a couple blocks of like shops and restaurants and things. It's just like that, but it's kind of has a highway in the middle of it.
Interesting. So maybe, if people start slowing down, if they start getting ticketed and this is actually a deterrent, then
be kind of
this
awesome.
Town could really change.
Yeah. It could also just be, it just could be safer. It just feels like such a no-brainer. This is just safer for everyone. Slowing traffic down is like one of the probably top 5 ways to keep people from dying.
Yeah. Although, this is Morrison. Red Rocks is down the road. Is this going to be a deterrent? Like, how do you think drivers are going to respond, Rebecca?
Well, one thing that I thought was interesting about the story is that they had a 60-day or basically 2-month trial period with these cameras. And it wasn't just they had them up and people saw them. People got mailed warnings. So it's like the same process as with the tickets, but as kind of like a tester. And clearly that did not have much of an impact. Now you're thinking about, okay, it's near Red Rocks, so you probably have a lot of like one-time folks or tourists coming through. Maybe it's deterred some of those people, but there was a long roll up to this. This didn't just come in all of a sudden.
I'm thinking about a story that I have from a few years ago where I was visiting San Francisco. I was doing some work. I was covering a story there, and I got busted by one of these cameras. And I got a ticket for $500 for turning right on a red light sent to me here in Colorado from when I was visiting this place in California.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not going to change my driving behavior. This is not about like stopping bad driving. This is just generating money for this police department. I feel like Red Rocks is going to be the same thing because so many people come from out of state to see concerts.
Then what's the solution to getting people to slow down? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's like the eternal struggle is like you can't get people to slow down unless you punish them for doing it.
Well, if you see a police officer on the side of the road, if I see a cop car, I slow down.
I don't know if that's always the case. I watch people do this all the time.
Yeah?
Yeah, and also, or those signs that are like flashing, telling you how fast you're going.
Mm-hmm.
People, there's one that I have to drive through in Littleton all the time to go to my in-laws' house. And like, I slow down to go around it and people whip around me. Like, I can't believe you're slowing down. And I'm like, there's a sign flashing telling me to slow down, And also I'm just thinking about like school zones and things like this would be kind of a godsend for like, there's a school, Valverde School, elementary school is on Alameda. Kids have to cross Alameda to get to their elementary school. And there's like, there is a, it has the flashing signs, 20 miles an hour. People whip around me on that. And I'm like, I'm just trying to follow this. Not saying I'm like a perfect driver, but like you can have signs all you want. It doesn't make a difference. How do we get people to slow down? Sounds like maybe punishing them is a step towards it with monetarily. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to check in on this in a few months to see if they're still doing this many tickets.
If they want to put one up on Alameda, they are welcomed. If they want to try, if they need another area to try this in, I would love to see. My street is a drag strip. I would love to see this. My struggle is we might want to talk about this. The surveillance component of this is disturbing for sure. That's the part I don't know how to reconcile with.
Tell me about that. What are you talking about?
I mean, we're going to put cameras. I know there's cameras. Everybody will say cameras are everywhere. Anyways, I mean, people film themselves in their homes all day. Like people love to surveil themselves. But it does feel like just more cameras in the public domain is not a great thing for privacy in society.
Are you hearing this from transportation people, Rebecca? Like, is this a hot topic for the experts?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that things like speeding cams, red light cams are definitely seen as a solution, but maybe an imperfect one in the world of kind of like transportation ideas. Some context is that a couple years ago, like a state bill passed that made it like easier for towns to put these up. So we actually could start seeing more of them. Kind of connecting to our conversation about policing, the argument for them is a couple things. One, you have police understaffing. And then the other one is, I think, like a lot of racial profiling and things that lead to misconduct in policing can start with traffic stops. And so these automatic cameras could be a way to kind of get around that and a solution in that way. But I also think it's important to recognize that facial recognition and artificial intelligence can have its own racial biases.
Right.
And then you also have the question about surveillance. And I think one interesting thing, Denver police has put out like a ton of cameras as an effort to stop car thefts. And so what those cameras do is they like trialed them at the parking garages at the airport first, because that's where there were a lot of car thefts. And now they've started to put more out throughout the city. And what that does is it will only flag stolen license plates. And so I remember covering this story and asking them about surveillance, and what they say is like the city are the only ones that have access to this data. It's like only flagging the stolen plates. It's only keeping that stuff. So that's what they would say in response to the surveillance concerns. But then you're also saying a ton of cameras are going up throughout the city and the police are the ones that are monitoring them.
And also just like the question of like who has access to that data. I feel like we've had so many stories where like, oop, actually all of these organizations had access to your data. We didn't know. Sorry. And I could see where like, you know what I mean? It's like, we don't know. But yeah, just the sheer amount of cameras.
I mean, there was another story earlier this week when I was reading up on this. The Denver Post reported that the Denver Police Department has actually changed their approach recently to drones. There now are 20-some front-range law enforcement agencies that are already using drones to look for missing people, mapping crime or crash scenes, providing overhead surveillance during SWAT operations, or tracking fleeing suspects. And I guess DPD is now looking into doing this too. So it sounds like this is just getting more and more common. And I think it might all come back to those staffing issues that we've been talking about.
Yeah, that is an interesting component of this, is like, I don't know, I have a lot of complicated feelings about police, but like,
I mean, the call has always been defund the police, but I mean, maybe a little bit of investment in technology can help defray some of the problems we've seen, like these traffic stops that lead to these racially charged incidents. Yeah,
or I mean, and deaths. I mean, thinking about Sandra Bland and Philando Castile, like these are genuine concerns for folks. But Rebecca made a great point. Like, there's still racial profiling within software, so I don't know if that's even going to make it better.
You know, I was talking to a source of mine who was spending some time at the protest encampments at Auraria and DU, which I think was just taken down this week also. I'm not sure if that's been reported, but he was telling me that they've started, sharing information within themselves, the protesters, to cover your faces.
Yeah.
Cover your faces with something, because there's cameras everywhere and you'll be documented as a member of one of these protests, and people will remember.
And that's like pretty basic protocol, I think, just for like street protests. That's what I've heard for many, many years.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. You cover your face, cover your tattoos, turn off your phone, turn off your phone altogether, like all these kinds of things to protect yourself. But it is a little bit different that it's now a concern on college campuses too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. The interest we have in surveilling ourselves is perplexing to me. I'm thinking back to Halloween when all these people were like putting a bowl of candy out and then filming people taking all the candy and then being like, posting it on the internet. Like, I can't believe these are wretched people. I was like, why don't you get outside and meet your neighbors and give them candy instead of surveilling them? But we're really interested in surveilling ourselves. So it's weird stuff.
We are.
Weird stuff.
That's a hard issue. Rebecca, any last thoughts before we move on?
I guess kind of two things. One about surveillance and kind of data. I think the other thing I'm thinking about is whether it's a private company or a public institution, you could have one data policy. Policies change, so I'm thinking about private tech companies. They change their terms and conditions all the time. And what's going on with your data when you first signed up to use this app and then have become completely reliant on it, not for your own personal fault, but because of the way society is set up. And then 5-10 years later, they can just decide to change that policy. So that's kind of something I'm also thinking about in the conversation of cameras, data privacy, facial recognition. The other point I wanted to make from the story that I just thought was kind of funny is that the town said they needed to get a higher data plan to keep up with all of these tickets, which just kind of made me laugh.
We're like, we're still doing that? Can we just,
I know how they can pay for it. Making buku bucks over there.
I know, I hope they build out the sickest sidewalks you've ever seen with that money.
What are they? I mean, what do you do with that windfall? Like almost $500,000 and probably growing every day.
Infrastructure, safer infrastructure. You could pour it right back into the city itself. So we'll see what they do with it.
Good for them. Interesting subject. But we got to move on. We got one last segment. It's the best way to end the week. Rocky Mountain highs and lows. All right, and we're back. Best way to end the week, my favorite way at least, it's wins and fails. We've each brought a recent local something that we think is a win or a Rocky Mountain high, or a fail, a Rocky Mountain low. It could be anything. It could be a news story. It could be something we saw on the street. I've got a whole different kind of thing today. But let's start with fails. Bree, how about you? You want to give us your fail?
Okay, well, listeners know we're deep in Bobert world.
Oh, yeah.
We're deep in Bobert country, and I'm in a weird place where I found myself having to defend her in certain ways as a woman. But she posted something, which, again, I fundamentally do not agree with this. She posted on Twitter about the Newcomers Playbook that Mike Johnston had put out and said, she says, we really need to vote out everyone in government who refers to illegal alien criminal invaders, loaded, as newcomers.
Illegal alien criminal invaders.
This is a sick band name if anyone's looking for one. So our nation is being stolen from us and they're complicit. Well, our mayor, Mike Johnston, retweeted that in typical Gen X millennial fashion, like, I'm going to get you. And said, did I forget a section in the playbook about not vaping and getting handsy at Beetlejuice? We haven't had that issue with any of our newcomers, but now that we know you're paying attention, we'll add it. And I was just like, can we attack her policy? Can we attack how she talks about border issues instead of this thing that happened last year? Like, it just felt so weirdly shamey and just like a cheap shot. And I went and looked at the comments because they screenshotted it and put it on Instagram. And a friend of mine, Deacon, a gentleman, said, wow, Mike, that was poor form. I'm honestly disappointed. And I was like, yeah, same, Deacon. We've interviewed the mayor. I find him to be a pretty cordial person. And that just felt like such a cheap shot at someone that I understand is not popular, but that has nothing to do with the newcomers thing. You know what I mean? Just felt whack. Some whack behavior.
Rebecca, you've covered the mayor. Does that feel new to you? Does it feel different in any way?
I think my main takeaway from this is it's a sign of how political discourse has changed and how social media has affected political discourse, which is to say, I'm not really old enough to remember another time, but I've heard about it.
It also sucked. Politics has always been bad.
It has sucked. I mean, it just I guess to me, it was just using social media in this way feels so dated. And it's just, I don't know. He was just showing showing his male self a little bit there, and I was disappointed. But Paul, what about you?
Well, I have one last. I just thought it was a little clunky. His phrasing was just like not that sharp of a line.
I mean, you also can't beat illegal alien criminal invaders. What a
illegal alien criminal invaders
chunk of words that someone put together.
Big feelings. Big feelings. Yeah, I can go next.
Yeah, go for it.
So my fail is related to this story about gas prices expected to go up this summer.
Oh, I didn't even click on this. It felt like clickbait, so I didn't.
No, this is a real thing. We're all going to be dealing with this. It's about our air quality is the problem. Axios Denver had the report that I read. Apparently, we're going to be paying up to 60 cents more per gallon this summer because of our bad air quality. This was like we have to use this reformulated gas now. That's why it's more expensive. And it's because we failed these EPA regulations a couple of years ago. But anyway, my fail goes to Governor Jared Polis, who fought against this for years. But the fail, of course, is that he failed to stop it. He just failed. And sometimes you have to give it up.
You think that
he tried to do something and he failed.
He was trying to stop the gas prices from rising.
Yeah, he was trying to stop this this changeover to force us to use the reformulated fuel.
Oh, but isn't this an environmental thing?
Well, the people who would support the policy would say that for sure.
I don't know. Our gas has been pretty cheap lately, so it's all the more reason, I guess, to get on the bus, even though you can't do that for free this summer because they're not doing the free fare for better air because whatever reason. We're gonna talk to Nate Miner about that,
we are.
I don't know how I feel about it. Gas goes up and down. It still sucks, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it'd be nice if it was cheaper. I've kind of been grumpy about this lately because there's this Quick Trip that went up near my house.
Oh yeah.
And we had this whole conversation with Steve Stager from 9 News about gas price wars.
Oh yeah.
And the Quick Trip was supposed to undercut the market and then lead to this gas price war. And I was supposed to pay low prices for gas, and it has not happened.
They failed you.
Yeah. It was $2.95 last week. It's the same at every gas station all around.
My hack is just use your super card at King Soopers and then you get 10 cents off at Shell. Or if you go to the gas station at the King Soopers in Bear Valley, you can get like 60 cents off a gallon depending on how much you spent that month. So,
Rebecca, are you worried about the gas prices going up?
I was going to say, it's a great time to get on public transit.
There you go.
It's so nice out. It's, biking season. If you're lucky enough to live in a pretty walkable area, I know I'm trying to walk everywhere, but I do also drive
Could
my
be that
car,
nudge.
so.
It's the nudge thing, right?
Rebecca, your fail.
Okay. It's a lot less serious than what the two of you have brought.
I love that.
Good. We want to end on that.
But my friends and I have been going to trivia every week at the Fat Solis on Colfax. Very fun time if anybody wants to come and battle us.
Okay, challenge accepted. I'm excellent at trivia.
We had a poor showing this week, we've been going every week and we just keep getting fourth. One time we got third, but we just can't escape fourth, which is something so tough about that.
Is there a category or something that you guys just it keeps hitting you and you're just...
No, it's something different every time.
Every time.
I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest contributor to the answers.
Okay.
But
you're there for moral support.
Yeah, I'm the personality hire onto the trivia team. But I feel like Denver has a good trivia scene.
Totally.
I feel like the Fat Solis trivia is pretty fun. But hopefully we'll be on the up.
I think maybe you just need to be studying like I know people do to get on Jeopardy. Is there a trivia hacks study group?
I don't know. I definitely need it though.
This reminds me, there was that local company. I haven't heard a lot about them. I mean, since the pandemic, for obvious reasons. But they was a trivia company, Geeks Who Drink.
Oh yeah,
they run this one.
Yeah. They run this one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they're still going strong. That's
they
good to hear.
They do them I would assume that's part of the reason we have such a strong trivia scene is because they've been doing it for years.
Yeah, I should check in, see what's up with them. All right, let's move on to fun stuff. Wins, Rocky Mountain Highs. Rebecca, why don't you start us off with a win?
So on Wednesday, Antiques Roadshow was taping in Denver, and my colleague CPR reporter Paula Shalsada and I went on Wednesday, and it was so much fun. I don't really like watch a ton of Antiques Roadshow, so I had no idea what to expect, but apparently, so they do it all in one day. They're going to make 3 episodes from it, which will air in like early 2025. And apparently Denver was the like most desirable city for tickets. 20,000 people applied, and then it's kind of like a random lottery. So they give out tickets to 4,000 people. Everybody can bring 2 items. And we just kind of walked around. We brought our own taxidermied raccoon holding a box of hot tamales.
The pictures are amazing.
Yeah, you can find a picture of it on denverite.com. But one of the editors in our newsroom got the raccoon because it fell off a back of a truck, and he just scooped up the box that fell off the truck and opened it, and this raccoon was inside.
I had a hard time with that story being real. I love it. I would love that, but the back of the truck thing that's quite a find.
It's not really a euphemism for I stole it, right? Something fell off the back of a truck. Maybe I watched too many mafia movies.
Listen, I don't know, but if you do see the picture and it's your raccoon, please let us know, because like a taxidermy raccoon, weird to begin with. The fact that it's like holding the hot tamales just raises like so many questions. And as I learned, the hot tamales actually raises the value of the raccoon because it's so unusual.
So wait, what's it worth? What do we know?
Well, I don't know. I don't want people to come looking for
$200
to $300.
Wow.
But don't come looking for Rocky because he's ours. But so we did that. It was super fun. And then I think the other thing that I just thought was super unexpected, just like in my own experience going, is you just had hundreds of people carting all these objects like paintings, posters, furniture, jewelry, ceramics, like so much stuff. And I actually found it quite moving. Like I was having this kind of emotional experience where I was like, look at all these objects that have emotional meaning to people. And these objects have like borne witness to so much of American history. And I kept asking all the appraisers, like, why do you think people like old stuff? And I think that there's just something like so human about trying to feel this connection to history and like your ancestors, and just feeling like we're all like people in a society. And like, I thought that was actually kind of moving.
Yeah. And I think the tangible just nature of, we see so much online. There's so much nostalgia. It's sort of, I don't know, porn for lack of a better word. And when you get to actually see that stuff in real life and hear people's stories about these pieces, and like it makes it so much more like human and emotional. I think that's what makes that show great too, is you get to hear someone's cool story behind the thing that their families had for 6 generations or whatever. So
yeah, most people were not there for the money. They were there to like learn more and like share their stories,
which is so cool.
I love that. That sounds like so much fun. Well, I guess I can watch those episodes when they air. I'll go next.
Go for it.
My win is this weekend is a big event happening in Civic Center, and I got tickets. Outside Festival. I'm going to go for both days.
Oh, yeah.
I've been looking forward to this for weeks. I'm so excited about it, and I'm glad that it exists. Thanks.
I want you to report back. I'm so curious. This is such an interesting kind of festival, and to be happening in the middle of the city also. Yeah. Music, the outdoor stuff. We've talked about the documentary screenings and these panels and stuff. And logistically, I'm curious how it works, but just like vibe-wise, I'm really interested what you report back.
Yeah, same. It's like, if anyone hasn't heard of it, it's a partnership between the Outside Magazine organization, which is a whole mess of, they own a whole bunch of different media brands. And it's a partnership with them and the state of Colorado's Outdoor Recreation Office. So there's music, but there's also like talks, like Shaun White is coming to give a talk on, I have no idea.
Being awesome at snowboarding?
I guess so. I have no idea.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Bree, what's your win?
Mine's another big event happening this weekend. It's
great.
My son's 3rd birthday party in my front yard. We're going to be be breaking open the giant Michelangelo piñata that we got that's taller than Montgomery. It's more just like the weather looks amazing. And I just was crossing my fingers. We're throwing a giant party. This time last year, it was dreary and rainy, and we all had to huddle under a tent. But it says it's supposed to be like 80 degrees. So I'm just shouting out Denver's weather in the hopes that it sticks to that plan. because
That's what the weather wants you to think.
I know. I'm in such denial about it, Rebecca. I know this. I've lived here too long. But I'm crossing my fingers. It stays because we got a Ninja Turtle cake. We got a Ninja Turtle piñata, as he calls them. We got the plates, cups, napkins. We're getting balloons. He's got a jersey to wear, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles jersey. It's just, we got it. We're gonna do it. Oh, and my mother-in-law made little turtle masks for all the kids to wear over their eyes, like little ninja masks. So
theme birthday party. That's fun.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing, and I hope that the weather stays awesome.
Great. Well, here we are at the end of the show. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, guys. This was awesome.
See you next time. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were Xander McMahon, Olivia Jewell-Love, and me, Paul Caroli. Peyton Garcia and Adrian Gonzalez write our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Don Chicharron and Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver, and tell Morrison Police Chief Bill Vanelli about us the next time you see him. You can sign up for that daily newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you at the Outside Fest. Oh, if you see me at the Outside Fest, come say hi.